Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner upon YouTube, one of my many little arty corners tucked away around the internet. It's Wednesday today, it's the 2nd of February, it's grey out. I live in South Wales in the United Kingdom, where it's literally is midwinter. Winter solstice was a month and a half go away, and the spring equinox will be a month and a half's time-ish, and so it is midwinter. It's actually known as, I'll witter about this in a moment, but rhyme me if I don't. I'll do my best to remember. But in front of you, you can see I've started a drawing here, and this is part of, or the beginning of, the colouring template for this week for the Angela Porter's Colouring Book Fans Facebook group. As you think I'd know that by now, I do, but my brain just isn't firing. I haven't had a full mug of, I think it's milky, very weak coffee today. So I'm doing something that involves various patterns, tangle patterns and what have you, and I am going to continue to add to this. It may take a little turn. I may add some of my little Doodleworlds characters as I go along. You'll have to excuse me as I reach across, because I have out as well this book, which is one of my A5 folders full of patterns and motifs, folders, notebooks full of patterns and motifs and various other things. And sometimes I open this and I just open the pages at random, and whatever my eye is drawn to first, I'll use in my design, which is why you may never have seen some of these before unless you're familiar with colouring book pages or older work, because I haven't used this for a long time, this particular motif here, or these. This, I don't know if this exists as a tangle pattern, this one down the bottom here. But it does now, I suppose. Or this one. And if you look at them, they're quite similar. I've got 4 teardrop shapes here, but they're arranged pointing towards the corner around a central dot, and then a square put around them. And this one, I've just moved those teardrop shapes to the corners. They're sort of like the pointy end is pointing into the corner, whereas in the other one, the blunt end was pointing towards the corner. And in the space in between, I've drawn some kind of circle with a dot in the middle. So they've got the same sort of like elements to them in a way, and I'm going to sneeze. Okay, so I am looking to do some things that are perhaps a bit different than I perhaps have done for a while, and perhaps not done at all. So I'm going to start here with this kind of shape, and I'm going to build a mushroom kind of shape from it, mushroom cap shape, and I will pop the stem in here. And my aim is that this area is all quite dense with pattern and so on, and the smallest spaces I think are still big enough for people to colour easily, but I do want to make sure that I have some open space as well, just to let the eye rest a little. So with this one though, I do want to do something about these caps. So I was talking about it being sort of midwinter here in the Northern Hemisphere. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to be in midsummer, because the seasons are opposite to what we have. And it's both a festival date in the Christian calendar called Candlemas, and for the life of me I can't remember what that is about, which means I should have really looked this up, and I didn't sort of think about that. That's a very raggedy torn edge, but you know what, that's fine. Nice chunky stem at the bottom there. but it's also Imbolc, which is sort of like a welcoming back of spring, or because growth is visible. I haven't been out for a walk for a while, so I'm hoping that once I've had a little chat with you and drawn some stuff, and in a way that perhaps you can follow along if you wish. Not everything. I'll say this, that if you would like to see me show you how to draw these particular tangle patterns and other things I've got here, then I will do that in another video. But perhaps not today, because I need to finish this one. So yeah, so there should be signs of life out there in the world of, sort of like life and everything returning. Hopefully I'll see some snowdrops and perhaps even some crocuses. If I ever make it out the door. I had good plans yesterday to do that, but I got lost in stuff. And it just didn't happen really. So it's quite nice because, first signs of, the world waking up from winter slumber are out there. And the birds are singing gloriously in the mornings. But they've not really stopped actually. And it's quite mild. Well, according to my computer, it says it's 9 degrees Celsius. I had the window open overnight, so there was a hope that I might be cool enough to sleep well. So I will say that. I did actually. I wasn't too bad. I did wake up about 4:30, and I eventually got back to sleep for a bit. So today is Imbolc, which is spelled Imbolc, B-O-L-C at the end, I-M. And it's still celebrated by various kinds of pagans. As I say, it's also a Christian celebration of Candlemas. Which must have something to do with light, for it to be called Candlemas. But for the life of me, I can't remember what it is. There we go. So I haven't done a video for a couple of days. I did start one yesterday, but I just kept getting in a pick. And in fact, I tried twice with two different designs for Chinese New Year, and boy did I blather on a lot. So, and Monday again, it was one of those days where nothing seemed to be going right. Nothing felt right as I was videoing. I think I just needed a couple of days break. And so I'm back here now with this. And just for a little while. I've still not really got my head around what I'd like to do with you, but I suspect it's going to be more drawing with me, tutorial kinds of things, because that is, you can take the teacher out of a school, but you can't take the teacher out of the woman. That's what I'm going to say. So I wasn't an art teacher, but I was a science teacher, and I did teach art for a little while as well, a little bit of art. And yeah, sorry, my mind got lost in some memories then that I can't vocalise. It was really lovely to teach classes I did. So children with special needs. So there we are. I've got a little group of 3 of those there. Now, one of the ways I like to leave space in a design is I love arches, rounded arches especially. And the other thing is they take up a lot of space. So suddenly you think, oh gosh, I've got all of this to do. And then you think, oh, that's cut it down hugely. But there are also wonderful opportunities for adding all kinds of patterns in. My lines are likely to be a bit wibbly wonky. I haven't done any drawing today so far. And yeah, it does take a little while for me to get myself sorted with such things, but all's good in the world and all's fine and well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pencil lines in here. And I'm going to split this up, not into squares, but into rectangles, because I think I'd rather like to do shapes like this that join one another, so we get a feeling almost like waves. But I think if I draw these as individual sections of a wave, I think I'll get a better symmetry of the wave going on, to be honest. So this is something different, and it's a pattern I've just spotted in my, well, Zibbled Only, my visual dictionary, my visual reference. I've got so many things. I estimated that during Fragments of Your Imagination, I drew most probably, give or take a couple of hundred or so either way, 1,500 fragments, different fragments. And part of me wants to pop some of them into this visual dictionary of mine, this one or a new one I started. And I have actually started doing that. I bought a new A5 dot grid journal to do this. And I suddenly realised as I was doing it that I'm repeating work that doesn't really need to be repeated, because I have everything in one place, as it were. It's just that it's not in one book. And as my workspace is really quite small, it can be a bit of a pain to have more than one book out at a time if you want to open them. So I've turned that A5 notebook into, I'm going to call it a commonplace book. And I will add some of my favourite fragments as I use them going in there, and patterns. Ones that perhaps I have used regularly, or it's really strange. It's almost like I'm scared of forgetting about things. And I think you do. I mean, there's just so many patterns, so many shapes in the world that it can be really, in my world as well, in my sketchbooks and notebooks and everything, that I'm scared of forgetting about things and not using them. So keeping track of them in a place where I can find them easily is important to me, because I've then got that reference to turn to look for things that perhaps I haven't used in a while, or even used at all. So I'm forever looking at new things and perhaps developing things in a different kind of way. Like the fragments, I say in a different way, is creating variations. This I like here. I've got quite a organic, wavy, curvy pattern there. And here I've got a very distinctly up and down geometrical one. So there's that juxtaposition. That's a good word. I think that's the word I was groping for. It wasn't. There was another one. But it'll do. It's close enough. A good juxtaposition of types of patterns there. And yep, I'm going to add another arch here. So it's really quite funny that, you know, how, oh, excuse me, door, thanks, I'll be back. And here I am back again. For you, it was but a moment. For me, it was a little while, because it was my weekly delivery of organic food and veg. So, food. So I have breakfast on a Wednesday delivered, as in I get a cinnamon and Danish whirl, actually 2 of them, one for today and one for tomorrow, my weekly treats. So I can't remember what I was wittering on about. I know I was talking about this being a juxtaposition, and I know I was wittering about the worries of me forgetting about patterns, or, you know, whatever else seems to occur. And my obsessiveness, or previous obsessiveness, about getting things into A5 notebooks, which is now turning into more of a thing where I'm thinking about just putting, well, I've now got lots of sketchbooks with, I say lots, I've got a couple of sketchbooks, or disc bound sketchbooks in particular, that have some of the challenges I've done with tangle patterns and fragments and all of those variations. So those will be becoming useful in the future. It's just, I may just take my favourite ones as I use them and pop them into one of these notebooks. Or it may be that I have a notebook where I just pop my favourite ones in as I use them, and keep the others then for when I need something a bit different. Sounds reasonable, actually. That's a plan. Somebody asked in questions, and I apologise if you're watching this because I can't remember who, whether I have a plan of what patterns I'm going to use in a drawing if I have this written down before I start work. I'll choose a certain number of patterns. I have done that in the past, but it's not something that I do as a general rule. I'm more likely to flip through and think I'm more likely to flip through the book that I showed you, my visual dictionary, or my reference, for ideas, and just go, oh yeah, I'll use that one, without any rhyme or reason whether it'll work, because I've found in my experience that most things seem to work together in my style of art. Sometimes I make mistakes and I wish I hadn't used something, and that's always a bit of a pain as I work directly in ink. So I'm stuck with it, really. But then I sometimes think, what was I thinking here? And when I add colour or shadow and highlight, suddenly I go, oh yeah, that works. And I have picked some out that I particularly want to use. So one of the, I'll show you very quickly. This is one of the designs I did for Chinese New Year yesterday. And I knew, I did spend some time, if I can get my bits and pieces. Ooh, because I've got a few bits and pieces over the side. There we go. I did spend some time looking for sort of like designs, doodles, whatever, that go with it, because the Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, this year is the year of the tiger. So I wanted to work out how to draw cute tiger faces. I settled on this one, and other things like coins and lanterns and lotus blossoms and plum blossom and so on, various things like coins and what have you. These clouds are fun. Oh, they are so going to be used at some point. I should have looked at those before. And the first design I did I thought I'll do a dangle design where I have a branch of the blossoms and these things hanging off. And I totally messed up this lantern here. And I could have kicked myself, but then I realised it's not really working for me. I've got everything, like the big things, all on a line or a wobbly line instead of staggered and so on. So I cut my losses, used it as a piece of scratch paper as well, and did this one where I coloured, like this one, I thought I'd colour the paper with distress inks in sort of tigery colours, in oranges and yellows. This one, this paper, I actually prefer to this one. This one's got a bit dark, to be honest, but I prefer this design and layout. And I put some glitter on, and I wish I'd used the gold glitter for the dots in the middle of the flowers instead of white, because the white just looks a bit stark against everything. But it's quite cute, and it works. And I put my initials there in a little lantern. But I didn't use any lanterns. But as I was drawing the lanterns, I thought they remind me of one of those fragments from Fragments of Imagination. A circle with the leaf shape in the middle, the rice shape in the middle, and, you know, an orb in that. So I created lanterns out of those just by putting tops on. I put 4 of them in the middle. But before I did that, I did this border. So I was at a meeting yesterday afternoon, and I was listening but drawing at the same time. I do that. I've always done that. You know, any scrap of paper I'll be creating lines or patterns and things on. And so I did lettering, and this was something they did in Zentangle. And if you go to the Zentangle YouTube, and it's all to do with letters and writing. It wasn't the 12 Days of Zentangle, it was the one before that. I can't remember what the project pack number was. And I hadn't really done much with it, but I thought, let's have a go. And so I wrote Happy Lunar New Year round each corner, and then just in my own inimicable style of hand lettering, where I thickened some lines and the ends of lines and so on, and then just auraed them, for want of a better word, just drew round them again and added black here and there, and, you know, where there were big dips. And so that becomes a textural pattern as well as having words in it. I've never had words and letters work for me before like this. So my mind is ticking over this, because I have dallied with typographic art in the past. About a year and a half ago, and it's something I need to go back to. But then that gave me this structure, so I went to the middle and popped this here and worked out to fill it in, and just put plum blossoms dotted around and just little hints of colour and shadow. And I'm much happier with this. And on camera, and the photographs I've taken, these colours look really quite garish in some ways, but they're actually a lot more subtle. And looking at them today after having a night's sleep, I really like them. So sometimes I do gather patterns or designs that I want to use in a drawing, but not always. I suppose it depends how I feel about things. So this arch here, I've added a pattern that is based on zigzags to kind of echo this, or to link in with this, as well as a juxtaposition to this rather curvy wavy pattern there. So that's really quite good. The pens I'm using, they're Unipin pens, and I've got an 01 out by the side of me in case I want to use it. I used it for the fine lines here, but this pen is an 03, not an 05. Because I normally draw with an 05, but not today, it seems. So this is quite nice as it is, but I do want to create a border here, so I'm going to use a trusty mooka. Because I think that will just add that feeling of a border there. Let's pop that in, just finish that there. A little round in there. I'm not doing too much of, well, I am using, actually I lie. I am using thicker lines here and there to bring out dimension, but not everywhere. So it's sort of like a judicious use. It's thinking, especially if I need to tidy up lines, because my lines can be a bit, oh gosh, that one is going to be quite a thick one here because I slipped, but it's okay, it'll be fine because it will fade into a thinner one. That's fine. And this one I'll just make it a little bit on the thicker side here, and that'll be all right. A bit of shadows, bit of shadow on these, and then just thicken these up a little bit on this side. I'm going to have to put together a set of morning drawing exercises before I even start doing this, I think. Wobbly hands today. There we go. So there's a set of arches that just take up a fair amount of space. And I'm going to create something here. I think I'm going to pop in some flowers. I'm going to make them like that, where I haven't joined the petals to the centre there. Now, do I want to do the same as I've done here? I think so. And let's give them a border around them. And that also has the added advantage that it touches the bottom here. Okay, so let's add another one. Tuck them behind each other. I'm making this distance quite wide so that it's easy for people to add colour. I think I may add one, have a look. If I do one here, because what I will do then is make this so it's, oh, we'll have this spilling out of the actual border a little bit, but I've said before that I'm not too worried about things spilling outside my borders. I think it's helps to break them up and give a more natural look. So that's okay, that'll work fine. So there's a grouping of 3 there, and I do want to pop a leaf, or should we do leaves, or shall I do, let's do that. Yeah. And I will just draw that line in there, because I'm not going to try and fit anything in there. And I can then perhaps, let's do one that goes up and touches here. Now I'm going to add some little bits of line rounding, and just to neaten up those edges a bit. I could have done them along these as well. These little touches I can always add at a later date once I finish the main part drawing as well. The drawing. So that's quite nice. And then I think we're going from something that's quite abstract and stylized, and I'm going to completely change this perhaps a little bit, because I'm going to pop in here, tucked in behind these, perhaps a cupcake. So I'll pop the top on it, but I'm going to have sort of a creamy topping on it. So I think that'll be okay. It could be a cupcake, it could be ice cream. There used to be an advert in the UK here for some brand of ice cream or other, and for the life of me I can't remember what it was, but sort of like the catch line was "we all scream for ice cream," and that's what my mind picked up here, what I was thinking of doing that. So there we are, we've got a cupcake there, and let's just add a little cherry to the top. As I said, it could be a cupcake or it could be ice cream. It's a bit skew-whiffy here. Bits of rounding aren't very good, but I can live with that, you know. And perhaps pop another one behind it, perhaps. The lovely thing about drawing things that are Doodleworldsy is that you don't have to worry too much about whether something is exactly correct with perspective, you know, in terms of perspective. And I'm happy with that. I think with this one I may just draw like that and pop some icing on it and pop a cherry on the top again. So if I start with the cherry, and then I can pop the cake underneath, whatever it is. Perhaps if I put some little circles in there, perhaps it suggests that there's cake there. So nice things to pattern and draw there. Oh, but let's do another one, because I'm going to do one that's hiding behind all of these. And I'm going to do it as it draw the top on as if it's a giant blueberry, as in moonberry, which is one of the fragments from Fragments of Your Imagination. So that's quite good fun. And I think as well what I'm going to do here to fill this gap in, to keep the sweet goodies going, is add some sweets, and we'll have stripy sweets, candies if you prefer to call them candies. In the UK we call them sweets. And in Wales the Welsh for sweet is lossin, which is either sweet or sweets. And lossin dants are a particular kind of mint sweet, and it literally means sweet tooth, because dant is Welsh for tooth, if I remember correctly. Lossin. I think the correct pronunciation, which I should know because I've been learning about it on Duolingo for just over a year. I reached my year anniversary of learning Welsh, and I still haven't finished stage 2. I'm struggling on the last couple of lessons because it's the subtlety of different tenses that I'm not appreciating or getting, and it's confusing me greatly. But no doubt I will get there. Right, I am just going to finish this corner off with a border. I'm going to try and squash another sweet in there. Yes, there's only 4, but I can live with just 4 of them, possibly, because I'm going to throw a Doodleworlds character or 2 in here, and I think I may just pop some stripes here because I can, and perhaps add them to this character as well, so that some of my colorists, or some of the colorists in the group, will pick that up. Okay, in a different shape, little critter here. I think this one I might give some horns to, because, well, because they're fun. And perhaps big one behind them. Perhaps looking a little bit angry because they can't get close enough to these, so let's give them a bit of a frowny face here. But perhaps have their tongue still hanging out, but down behind that one. And a spiky top. So that's a fair amount of this done. I've got plenty to do, and I've got until tomorrow to get it done, kind of. But it's started. It's on the go. So I hope you've enjoyed this little trip with me on some of the this colouring template for the Angela Porter's Colouring Book Fans Facebook group. And well, I'll see you again soon, most probably tomorrow. And as I say, thank you if you've subscribed. Thank you so much if you've liked this video. Thank you so much if you've shared this with people you know who will enjoy it. I hope to see you back here again. And if you've got any suggestions or any requests for things you'd like to see me do in terms of drawing or art, within my limitations, you know, pen and paper is mine, and recognising that, you know, traditional media is not my way perhaps for colouring, but we'll see. Then just leave me a comment. But until I see you again, take care and find time to be creative. Bye bye for now. Hoyle. Bye.